and we have a very special guest today. I am super excited to talk with her today. So, welcome all. First, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us where you're located and some fun facts about you.
All right. So basically, all right, I'm in the UK, Bristol to be precise, and of course, I'm a Lima, Lawa Babatunde, and I'm a graduate student here, and I'm a long distance relationship coach. I am the founder of No Pure on Get, the platform that helps couples in long distance relationship, to have an incredible long distance relationship, an
Wow.
experience incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. As somebody that also has a personal experience with long distance relationship, it is something that I think if you leave your home country as an adult to, pursue an education or work, you're more likely going to experience at one point or the other. So that is like what you're doing is very important and timely, and we definitely applaud you for it. And thank you for coming on to share some nuggets with us. I guess my first question is when did you decide that you wanted to start an organization or a platform to help people in long distance relationship? What inspired that?
All right. So basically, I started my long distance relationship while I was serving. You know, I served in another state away from my husband, and at some point, I would, of course, come across different things about what people say about long distance relationships. People are really, really. It's not like it's been there are lots of stereotypes surrounding it, and people would say things like "you can never walk," different things like that. And I just felt like, I mean, this should not be the narrative of a long distance relationship. I felt like it's something, there should be a different narrative entirely, more like the truth to this thing. And I've always had people come to me for different advice on relationship and everything. And I just felt like, okay, what if? Just what if? And when the real long distance relationship started for me, I just felt like, what if? What if you just, be in that position to help people, some people like you, people in a situation like your own, how would that be? That's really going to help a lot of people. And after starting this particular platform, I realized that there are really lots of people who really, really do need help in their long distance relationship. And I just really find it really interesting that people, do not pay attention to things like this, because many times, even when you have a partner, maybe married or unmarried, like your fiance or whatever, and this person is going out of the country, and the thing you hear people tell you straight up is, you had better just end this relationship, it's not going to work, things like that. I just feel like, it should be that, and, people should not have that pessimistic viewpoint about it. It should be something that should be encouraged for people who are willing to go into. Apparently, it's not going to be for everyone, but then for people who are willing to go into it, willing to, go through the process, go through the experience and everything, they should be encouraged. And I guess that's one thing that actually motivated me to start this practice.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. Okay, so we're going to ask some questions. We're going to talk about some things specific to your experience before we dive into some, general thoughts on this. And so when you entered your long distance relationship, what were some fears that you had in that experience?
All right, so I get this question a lot. So for me, to be honest with you, I never really had the fear of losing my partner, and I'll say that that's because we've reached that stage where trust wasn't really an issue. Of course, at some point, the fear might creep in, but then, to be honest, it's just being wild in my imagination when I think about that, or when I entertain such fears, because I just feel like, for me, it's not like, of course, I was married at that time. And I'm still married anyway, At that time when I started my long distance, it wasn't like, I know it's a different thing for people who are just in a relationship, And I wasn't really bothered about, losing my partner to somebody else and everything, because like I said, we've built that trust relationship. And for me, it wasn't some of the fears that I can actually say that that would really, that were really something that made me somehow, kind of cringe at the thought of it. Well, first one was the issue of religion for me, because I know that outside the country it's really very difficult, and
Mhm.
of course being in a long distance relationship, or even any kind of marriage relationship, generally requires that you're on the same page spiritually with the person you are, with your partner. And I just felt like I do not really want to start, grappling with challenges like spiritual aspect and all of those things. And I think that was really my major fear. And I had that even in prayers. I had to pray about that and everything, because I really, really do not want something like that. Aside that, trust issues, it wasn't really anything serious for me at the time.
Okay. When you say religion, do you and your husband practice different religions or the same?
The same actually.
Okay, the same. All right. And so your concern with religion was in leaving the country, not between or not for
Yeah.
the relationship. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. And I think a very important question, whether you are just starting a relationship or you're already in one and you're about to experience the distance part, is like being able to identify that your relationship is healthy enough to withstand distance, right? Like that's a big part of it. And just like you pointed out initially, not every relationship can or should withstand distance, right? And so what are some qualities of a relationship that is in a good position to introduce distance into it if somebody is really considering going into a long distance relationship with their partner?
Okay. One thing I say often, like one thing I really do not get tired of saying, is you and being intentional about your relationship, and this comes with a lot of things like having a positive mindset towards your relationship and your partner. There are two different things for me. You could have a positive mindset towards your relationship and you may not have it towards your partner, right? So having a positive mindset towards your relationship would help you have that belief, be confident in that relationship, that okay, this is it. I would put my effort, because it requires mutual effort, of course, the effort of both parties, those who are involved. So I cannot be the one putting in all of the effort and my partner is not giving the same energy. Of course, I'm going to get tired of that. So having a positive mindset goes a long way, because it means that you sure, of course, you definitely are sure of the partner you are in a relationship with. You're sure of the kind of relationship you must have been building. So first is having a positive mindset, and be, of course, like I said, it comes with being intentional, and also you really need to learn to let go of fears. It's not abnormal to entertain fears like, oh, what's going to happen to my relationship? Is my partner looking at somebody else? Is somebody else getting his attention? And all of those things. Try as much as possible to not let all of, such fear linger, do not let it grow. Also, it is really very important for you to prioritize your partner. It's a
Mm.
different thing that you have a positive mindset towards your relationship. Is another thing that you are prioritizing your partner, because when you do that, even when you know when you get busy, you know for sure that this person is on my A list. I
Mhm.
cannot tour with this person one way or the other. In fact, it influences the communication pattern that you would have after in the long run, because you want to build an effective communication with your partner, not just hello, are you doing, are you fine today, how was your day, did you have a good, you understand, you want to build a really effective communication, an effective one that is sustainable, one that you would know that okay, this is one that actually is progressing the relationship. Do you understand? So,
Mhm.
um, have a good, uh, yeah. So, prioritize your partner so that you can have a good and an effective communication. Also, you one of those things that an healthy relationship should look like is you seeing your relationship as that safe haven for you.
Mm.
You don't have to entertain that insecurity, even while still running the physical relationship, right? You don't have to, be unsure. I mean, they're really intertwined, because if you are not secure in your relationship, I tell you, instead of progressing, a lot of things would actually be throwing you back, and
Mm.
it affects love, it affects commitment, it affects the bond you share, and all of those things. So I guess those are the things that should really be, noted.
Hmm. Those you raised some very good points. You talked about communication, you talked about being secure, You also talked about prioritizing your partner. And so those are like good pointers. So if you're in a relationship where you haven't identified those things already, then it doesn't make sense to go into a long distance relationship with that person, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, and so the next question after that is, and so two people have decided this is what it is. One person has to go to the US, UK, Canada, wherever else for school or for work or something else, or even sometimes in the same country. What are the conversations they need to have to set the ground for a healthy long distance relationship? What are the important things they need to talk about?
Okay. Um, to be honest with you, being in a long distance relationship is really not an easy task.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not having your partner away from you and all of that. And some people would say, okay, for instance, there was a time I talked on my page about the different kinds of long distance relationship that I have recognized. I recognize that there are really some that are planned,
Hmm.
some not planned, the unplanned, and even when you plan, you cannot really say exactly what's going to happen except when you start experiencing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before before for instance, before I got married, my husband and I had the conversation of the possibility of him traveling at some point and all of those. So I was aware that at some point I most likely would find myself in a situation like this. So not everybody would have the privilege to actually, some people it comes suddenly for them. For instance, maybe the admission, maybe maybe unplanned, maybe they really do not even have the intention of really leaving their spouse or their partner and all of those things. So, but then I think there are some conversations that should really, you know, show up in your daily communication when you talk with your partner. For instance, talk about even when you're not seeing it in view, like when it's not coming in sight, talk about the possibility of you living. It might not even be for studies, it could be for work. It might
Hmm.
not even be out of the country. It might not be like the international kind of. It could be like you said earlier in a different state entirely. So these things actually happen. For instance, they could promote your partner. You could, anything could happen at work. It could be your partner seeing an opportunity somewhere that he or she likes to pursue. You understand? So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like things like this should be discussed. And when you do so, know what your limitations are. Know what's that thing that's going to be like a no for you. Some
Mm-hmm.
people cannot. As I said earlier, long distance relationship is really not for everybody, and that's really fine. So
Mm-hmm.
don't force yourself to accept the fact. Okay, yeah, you might think that it might work. It's really okay to give it a try. But when you find yourself in it and you start discovering that this is not going to work because it's not my thing,
Mm-hmm.
then I just really would advise you to break from it. Take a break from it. Just take a break from it. It's not something that should be forced on you. So, and I really would say that partners should respect each other's decision and really reach a compromise on this, right? Because it might this actually cause it could cause rifts, like conflict, like you don't want me to progress, this that. But then yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's normal for you to, in fact, you actually disagree to eventually agree, right? So but then reaching a point, like reaching like a compromise, a point of agreement that you both meeting each other at that halfway, okay, this is what would work for us, this is what we really want to do, and there is no going back. I think is key and is really very important, because you don't want to keep yourself hanging by just sweeping such conversations under the carpet, or just trying to just avoid conversation like that because you feel like I'm not ready for this. You might not be ready for this. You can take your time, but please do not avoid conversations like this. They're really important that you talk about them.
Very important. Wow. I like that. I like that. So have conversations about what it would look like to get into a long distance relationship, even if it's not even something that you are actively thinking or planning to do at the moment. So that's a very good point. What about what conversations people could have when they are going into a long distance relationship? What are the things that they should put in place, or what are the conversations around creating a structure or something that would help them navigate distance? What do those look like?
Okay, I would say that it's really good. I remember that while I was talking about the long distance, the kinds of long distance relationship, I kind of noted, like I entered in what I posted, that it's kind of good, like more like on the advantageous side for those who probably have it planned in quotes, right? Because you know that okay, this is what you are really going to get yourself into, right? So, but then sometimes it really gets overwhelming because you want it to be perfect, and then it's funny because the truth is there's really no perfect relationship, right? All of these nice couples, all of these beautiful relationships that we admire, they're just basically the result of two people who consciously put in their efforts into it, right? So things that should be looked out for. I would say that first, know for sure that you're not going to be leaving your partner in a situation that would keep them, wondering or kind of hanging. For instance, if you're married, make a kind of preparation or like leave something in place for your spouse. You could set your spouse off if you think that that might help. For instance, for myself, when my wanted to travel, he had me with some cash. You understand? And I thought that's a good idea for me to invest, and I invested in a fancy, footwear business. Of course, I could not sustain that business. You understand? So, the fact that is he acknowledged the fact that okay, this person might need like this, and people really talk about finances in their relationship or marriage, and I think is one important thing to talk about too, right? So, talk about things like this. Know when exactly. Yes, I like the fact that I just remember this. Know when you both would come together, like to close the distance. Have it planned.
Mm.
You understand? And what was it? Even if, of course, we just plan. God is the best of planners, and of course, His plan would always super, right? So even if it's not going to come the way you've planned it, it's really important that you have it in place, because I feel like that's one thing that keeps the relationship going. It keeps it going. So if it's going to take a period of, like, for instance, mine took almost 4 years. Right, and during this period, we actually had the intention of meeting, like say roughly after a year or something. But then, as God would have it, it didn't happen. Right, it didn't happen at that time. So, but then when you talk about the reunion thing, often it gives you this kind of joy. So before you get into that kind of relationship, like talk about when the possibility of you coming together really soon, and make sure that it's something that you're not just saying with your mouth. It's something that you're both working towards, because at some point my husband really wanted me to come almost immediately, but I decided to stay back because I felt like I have a daughter, she's still a baby, and then I needed to study also. I really wanted to continue with my master's and at that point, so I just really said okay, I was going to just take my master's, and that's it for me. You understand? If I really wish that I knew better, because of course I would have, it's not easy to be away for that long, right? So I think conversation like that should include talking about your reunion. When is it going to happen? How are you going to sustain the relationship? Also, conversation like that should include talking about like what your communication pattern is going to look like. It might not be a structured one. There is the unpatterned pattern, right? Now you don't really have it all planned and structured. But then at some point when you begin to realize that at certain time you communicate at this particular time and all of this, and then it becomes a pattern for you, right? So also have it like on list about your plan to, maybe create something that would sustain you both. It might not be a business, it might just be like something that would make you both connect on different levels. Because as humans, we talking about spiritually, talking about, emotionally and all of it, we drift apart. And then there is the diasporan trauma or diasporan blues for those who are going outside of the country. It's a new place for them. And we have them time to, adapt and all of that. And I think that's where some people make mistakes. They really, they immediately start assuming, why did you just travel like that? And you're not responding to this, and I guess we all make that mistake at some point, because you're really kind of anxious, you're really kind of worried, and you really want to know why this person, at some point change might happen. Why has this person changed this much and everything, without remembering to actually cut this person some slack, that this person could actually be trying to adapt. There's the issue of acclimatization and everything. Just be trying to get acclimatized to the condition there and all of those things. And I think that's a serious thing as well, because of course when I traveled, I realized it's really not easy to change your environment and want to adapt to that new environment. It takes time, and it sometimes messes with the psychology. So I guess those are the things that about, yeah.
You have said so much. You have talked about communication, which is the life wire of honestly any long distance relationship,
Yeah.
because I have often said that's all you have. Like literally, your communication is everything. You've also talked about cutting your partner some slack, and so being open to the changes, comfortable and uncomfortable, that will happen as a result of that distance. So I want to dive deeper into those 2 points that you raised. First, let's start with communication. I was intrigued by how you divided it into patterned and unpatterned. Can you talk about the different kinds of communication that could happen in a long distance relationship?
All right. The fact that you're in a long distance relationship doesn't mean that you probably, should lose your personality. Yes, there are really some people who do not like to be choked at all. They do not like it. And there's some people who are really clingy, like they're just really clingy. They can't get, themselves being alone, without being in constant communication with their partner or spouse, without really, trying to, talk to this person almost every time. Now, this can be really, really something. Like this can be really something serious because at some point the person who really likes the me time thing and be like, why are you choking me? You know? And the other person might be like, I just think I think we should be, on the same page on this because you're away, I'm here. I think I should have you, understand the fact that I need to be in constant communication with you and all of those things, right? So, but then, like you said, one of the most important things in a long distance relationship is having an effective communication. It would not work without that. Definitely would not work. And this comes in different ways. You could communicate because thankfully the new media has made everything really quite easier, You could communicate via WhatsApp, via emails, different people do a lot of things. People really do a lot of things. Some people just have a particular social media platform that is just the two of them. You understand? So for somebody who I'd say that for somebody who really would like to have, because one thing that long distance relationship does is to actually give you that me time. It gives that me time to you. And even if you're the clingy type who really likes to, always be in constant communication with your spouse or your partner and everything, you will not know when you start drifting to that position where you like your alone time, your me time, and all of those things. So I would say that you want to be really intentional and conscious about your kind of communication because it helps a lot. So if for instance you feel like, okay, let's have a time, just know what works for you. Let's have a particular time that we talk. We could talk maybe twice a day. We could talk maybe 3 times a day. Okay, it could be that let's stick to video calls, right? Let's not do voice calls. Let's just do video calls all through because seeing your face and you seeing mine, of course, it helps strengthen the bonds and everything. So you might also want to be like, you can call me anytime. You can reach the agreement. It's funny because if you're like, how can I be discussing things like this with my partner? Of course, it should, like I said earlier, it should be your partner's priority, right? But this does not mean that you should choke them. This really does not mean that you choke them. So for some people, they do not really have a pattern. It's just something that they do. Like, okay, I called this morning, I called this afternoon, I'm calling this evening, and then it start becoming like a pattern for you, like your communication, your own communication pattern, right? And some people it's just maybe the call is once, and then every other platform we get really busy with every other platform. It could be sending Snapchat, whatever, sending emails, sending videos, sending pictures. Some people is just with that sign that they get to communicate and you get to stay in touch, right? So there's really no strict pattern. Like there's really no strict communication pattern. Just do what works for you. So just know for sure. It might take time to discover exactly what works for you, but then you discover that. And the funny thing is, even if it's talking like 247 that works for you, you might not get to stick to this every now and then because at some point you might be busy. You have some other life outside your long distance relationship anyway. So even you might be busy, perhaps maybe school, work, whatever, and your partner on the other end is also busy with something. So sometimes you won't even remember that we've not communicated today, but then maybe it's just through text message. I, hello, popping in one or two messages, for sure that you you've established that relationship again, like that bond again for that particular day or for that moment. And I think basically just do what works for you.
Hmm. Hmm. I like what you said. And I think just to kind of add to your point, we live in this social media generation where you see maybe a couple who post themselves all the time on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and then you assume that they have something better than you do have. Or you talk to a friend, yeah, or you talk to a friend who is also in a long distance relationship and their communication pattern is different from yours, and you think that yours is bad for that reason. And so I like what you said about identifying what works for you, and even understanding the kind of person that you are. I think that that's also a unique thing, because I'm a romantic. I like the, constant attention, the phone calls, the, cute text messages and poems, like hit me with all of it. That's me, right? And then there are people who don't like that much interaction. It actually either overwhelms them or irritates them, or they don't thrive in that. And I want to ask a question, actually. It just came to my mind. When people are, I don't want to say mismatched, but when people are different in that way, so you have somebody who wants the constant communication, who, wants to wake up to a good morning text and, text good night and then talk during lunch, in between. And then that person is in a relationship with somebody else who doesn't roll like that. Right. And, what are your thoughts about how they can bridge the gap in their difference?
All right. So this is really an interesting question for me because I would say that I kind of find myself in a similar situation because sometimes generally speaking, we tend to see or say that men or most men are quite nonchalant about things like this. They really do not care. I love you. You know that I do love you. So if I have to always
Why am
constantly
I
prove
telling
that
you all
to
the
you,
time?
do you understand? But to be honest with you, I like you said, I'm just that kind of person.
Yep.
I like, loving the way I'm really that kind of person.
Yep.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about love languages, I like everything.
All five.
Everything. Everything. Actually, everything. So, and my husband is somebody that, okay, at first I thought that, okay, why? I'm just that kind of person who happens to be, of course, the romantic one, I like that. It's kind of eyeing me now. So, he's somebody who really would show his own love through more like through acts of service and some other things like gifts and all of that. But then I am a person of the combination of all.
Okay.
So at first I it got to me like why, okay, of course, when we were cutting all of this, why are you different? And also it really bothered me, and I felt like I don't know, of course I'd fantasized about the kind of relationship that I so I
Yes.
think, of course, this is what I want. This is what I want. I don't know. So at some point, I couldn't really bring up the conversation. Of course, we're still cutting at that time and all of those. So eventually, after we got married, I realized that, okay, at this point, we really need to be there. Like, we can't hide anything from each other. And this is where it starts from. We need to start building that kind of relationship that, helps us build different relationships. Because I believe that in every relationship, there is the trust relationship, there is the love relationship, there is the communication relationship, and so on and so forth, right? So at that time, I actually raised the issue, and I'm somebody I like to write poems. I can really go overboard on things like that,
I
right?
hear you.
So I realized that, yeah, I realized that, I realized that these are things my husband also really likes. These are things that he loved when I do them, right? So, and I would say that for people in such situation, I think initiating, what you want might actually go a long way in helping you. So
Hmm.
you might think, when I do, he might not even respond. He might just, he might ignore and everything. Do not have that mindset.
Hmm.
Why not try first? Why not give it a trial first? Why not be the initiator of things like that? Because when you do that, it's just very normal. If the love is genuine and this person truly, truly, really does love you, of course, this person would reciprocate because it's just very normal that this person gives back what you are giving to him or her, right? So I
Mhm.
think initiating what you want would go a long way in helping you achieve what you want. Because if you are the type that your love language is the all five, I
Yes.
feel like doing yeah doing everything and waiting, not just doing, because you cannot just do and expect result almost immediately. You really need to give time.
Mhm.
And at some point, if you think, because I know I've actually I've helped some people who actually found themselves in worst situation, like this person really not acknowledging in whatsoever way. This
Mm.
person truly, this person, at some point it feels like, are we still in a relationship? Do you still love me? Do we still have the same feelings for each other? Do we still share that bond? You understand? And it bothers people. It is worrisome anyway. So
Mhm.
um I tell people, don't, it's normal for you to get bothered, but then don't dwell on the negative aspect of this. Try it first. And
Mm.
if this person is not responding, do not pretend like you're not seeing, you're not, nothing is happening, or you're not seeing the fact that this person is not responding. Talk about it.
Mm.
Have a conversation about it. Like, talk about it. Have a serious conversation about it, because you might not know what this person is going through internally. You might not know the kind of personality this person
Mhm.
has, because we not get to know our partner fully until we start living together, until, perhaps after marriage for a lot of people, you understand? So have
Mhm.
that conversation, call this person's attention to it. Tell them how you feel, how you this is hurting you. Tell
Mhm.
them how you really would like them to respond to you. This
Mm.
sometimes might actually whatever disagreement, because some people might not take it in well, like, why are you accusing me of this and all of that. But let it happen.
Mm.
You might want to apologize afterwards for trying to maybe raise some kind of emotions, and it depends on you. It's not every time that you actually really do say sorry. Sometimes you actually want to have a conversation before and reach a conclusion, or
Mm.
like a compromise, or like a meeting point before you really, okay, let's just make up. Because of course you don't want to let your disagreements keep going on, or you don't want to dwell on that, and start creating unnecessary issues. So
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. You said something that I want to highlight, which is in initiating those things that you love and those things that you enjoy doing, as opposed to resenting the fact that your partner doesn't do them or doesn't know how to do them. I think that that's huge. I was recently having a conversation with a friend about this, and I think as humans, there's that fear of, you either don't want to be the one doing too much in the relationship, because then it makes you feel like, maybe you like this person more than they like you, right? Your ego kicks in, and you're not trying to like put yourself out there like that, and you're always waiting for, if I put one leg, let me see if you have put one leg first before I put the other leg, right? And that's not how that's not how a healthy relationship really forms. And it does take a lot of courage to be like, okay, this is something that I want. And so I would take the lead, and I would trust that you will join me on, this path once you have seen me take the lead. And I can honestly say that in good and healthy relationships, the partners follow if they see you taking the lead. And you're right, what you also said, if you see that your actions, your intentions, all the things you're putting in is not reciprocated, that's the time to have a conversation, or that's the time to reevaluate if this is something that the both of you want. So you make very powerful points. Thank you for that. All right. Now,
yeah, to just add to that, I had something somewhere about somebody saying a relationship is not about a 50-50 thing, it's about 100. And I think I totally agree with that, because if you are having that mindset of giving 50, like you said, like, let me give my legs, let me see how this person is going to react, then I'll see if I can give both legs, right?
yes.
I feel like it's not going to work like that, because there'll be that thin line of fear, always seeing whatever it is that you want, your actions, and you want to have a rethink or think about a million and one times before you actually just do something that should naturally come to you. So relationship is about giving your all, like give your 100, then the other person also give his or her own 100, then let it be 200. Like it should not be 50-50. That's not the kind of equilibrium that should be in a relationship. It doesn't work like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the way my therapist said that, she said you are 100% responsible for your own 50. I think that's the way she puts it. Like, and that is like,
Great.
that is so like on point. Like you have to own yourself, and you did say something again that I actually like, and that is stepping into our authentic self. I have always kind of questioned the idea of how much we play games in our relationships and day-to-day lives with people, right? And so it's like, okay, this is who I am, this is how I show love, and this is how I receive love. But in this relationship, I'm going to hold back and put one leg in or one finger in, as opposed to showing up as who you truly are, so that you can accurately assess if this is a good place for you, right? The way to know whether you're in the right place or not is to show up 100%, so that way you can gauge whether this is, so you don't play games with yourselves or your relationships, because then you're not setting it at least on a good path to be successful. So 1000%, thank you for those points. Now I'm going to ask you a challenging question, and I think that everybody in a long distance relationship either has experienced this or has some point thought about this. At what point in a long distance relationship should they start, or should people start to reconsider whether they should continue in it? Like what are the signs, or what are the points where you should actually start to evaluate whether this is for me, or consider leaving the relationship?
All right, all right. This I find this another interesting question, because really long distance relationship, it takes quite some energy, if not more, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say something often. I say that you should learn to reevaluate your relationship. There is a reason for that. You do not want to keep deceiving yourself. Like, okay, let me just, yeah, like I said earlier, you might want to cut your partner some slack or whatever, but then you do not want to overindulge that person, right? Because people really get carried away easily,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah, we are humans, so we're humans, and then different things can happen, and then they can easily sway away some people, right? So I would say that first, the kind of person you are in a relationship with, right? And there are certain things that you should probably, must have noticed, or, more like, of course, they're registered in your brain about the kind of person this person is.
Mm-hmm.
And when things start changing, you know for sure that this person is changing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, when to watch out for when your relationship becomes unhealthy is when perhaps you realize that this person start perceiving you as a burden,
Mm-hmm.
right? This person start perceiving you as a burden, and it starts first from you not being the priority of this person anymore. No matter how much this person tries to keep you, keep up with that, chariot of you being the priority, like, I don't want this person to know. People have that kind of duty conscience. They've really come a long way. I do not want this person to see like I'm just jumping his ass off. I'm in our ass off like that. You understand? Let me still manage to be compassionate. It doesn't work like that anyway, because the other person is no fool, right? So people see things, they things like that. So first, it starts with you becoming, the other person. Not necessarily because that person probably have somebody they are, going out with already or something. It could be some other distractions. But of course, we know that majorly is about the distraction of somebody new, something new. It could be obsession with work. It could be obsession with someone else, And sometimes it could be infatuation leading that person away. And now this is really tricky, because if that's the case with your partner, because okay, let me just say that if you probably must have identified these things, like maybe when you start becoming a burden to this person, when you realize that this person really doesn't want to talk to you anymore, right? This person really would want to probably open up conversation with you and be like, maybe give excuses, I need to be out of this place, blah, 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 and all of those things. And then you just know, because we really can't say this is for sure the kind of excuses or the kind of pattern or the kind of behavior this person would put up, because you are the person in the relationship with this person, and this person. Let's just assume that this person much more than any other person, right, at that moment. So I'd say that some people, it could be that they're probably going through. So you need to check first. You cannot just conclude that, okay, I'm done with this relationship. I am not moving forward with it. I am not going to, stress myself over it again. Why not just first assess what the situation might be like? It could be you really should actually rule out all possibilities of different other things, except of course for the new partner thing, maybe a new obsession with somebody else or something like that. So first you might want to check if perhaps your partner is probably psychologically disturbed about something. You understand, it could be something really, really bothering this person, and this person feels like not sharing with you because they think they're protecting you from their misery.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So you might want to check. And you cannot, like, I really wanted to say annoying, but I do not want to use that word, because the most frustrating thing about this thing is that you cannot force this person to, spill it all out to you.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. So it takes time, because more like you need to start reassuring this person again. Now, you cannot be too preemptive too, because it feels like, what exactly is she thinking, or is he thinking that I'm, doing or going through? Why is she being like this? Sometimes it could make you, I feel like the fool in quote, like, why is our thoughts running wild? Do you understand? So you might truly want to rule out that. Of course, you would know. Perhaps by going through maybe the way this person appears on social media, what this person posts, how this person relates with other people on social media and all of those things. You might even want to communicate with other people, like people maybe this person's friend or whatever, the friends. You might want to try to talk to them to get, not necessarily telling them what you are going through in your relationship at that point, right? And of course you might want to seek the help of an expert. So first, try to rule out the possibility of this person being maybe overwhelmed with work, or going through difficult times and all of those things. So it's not always about there is a new partner, there is somebody who is taking your attention away from me and all of those. So you might want to rule that out before really concluding that, okay, I'm done with this relationship, I'm not going anywhere with it again, all of this. And sometimes I really would like to say that, okay, there is we all have this threshold limit, right? We have this threshold that we cannot go beyond it. You understand? So I won't say that you should be patient, because you really want to figure out things like that. And it comes out really quickly for some people, because they may not be able to hold on again, and they just let you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, first of all, aside discovering things like this, like finding out what exactly the truth is, you of course would have to communicate about this.
Mm-hmm.
If possible, try to probably arrange a reunion. You could help, seeing face to face actually goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
It changes things for some people. You understand? Perhaps it could be that is the distance, it's a different thing if I'm seeing you on my phone, we are communicating via FaceTime and all of those things. And it's really another different thing when I see you physically and I just really feel like, oh, so this is it. This is the reality and all of those. And I guess quite a number of people in long distance relationship might have this experience. So I would always advise that they give a reunion a chance. Like they should include that in their resolution tactics, right? Make sure that you, even if it's not going to work in the long run, just meet up. Make sure. I hope it's not always that easy, right? Because it's always easier said than done, but then plan towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So because sometimes talking, communicating via social media, via all of those platforms might not work for you. Mm-hmm. It might be that you really need to tell me to my face, say it to me, what exactly is the problem, right? So let us know how to go about this. Can we walk this through? Like, can we both get over this together? Mm-hmm. Do you think you need some space? Or do you think you can, you understand? And whatever decision that you both reach, or that this person is willing to, reach individually, then I think it should be respected. It takes time, and of course there will be a party that will be affected more than the other, and then it could be that both parties are really, would really be affected. Yeah. So just take time to ensure that these things are sorted out like that, and you not just come to that conclusion in a hurry that okay, this is it and I'm done. So that's just it.
Wow. Wow. I could honestly tell from your responses that you do have a heart for long distance relationship. It's almost like you're almost pleading with people to try everything before they
Because
before they
it's
commit.
quite painful when you it's quite painful when you know that you have given a whole lot of things, your effort and everything. I just feel like you should make it worthwhile. Like you should, it's not something that you should because of that stay in, or condone, or indulge this person when you know that it's really glaring that it's a no-go area. But then for the sake of whatever it is that you both shared or must have been sharing or whatever at all, for the sake of the effort you both must have probably been putting in the relationship for a while, I think is what some kind of patience.
I hear you. Okay. All right. So we are inching closer and closer to our hour. I also wanted to ask another question. So for people who are in healthy long distance relationships, what are some things they can do to spice up the relationship or to keep it interesting, or tips for what they could do to improve or deepen their bond even while they're separated?
All right, so of course, because the love, the bond, everything is there. So of course, you should aim at just strengthening it with different things. First, you should keep dating. Like dating is the essence of dating. Like going on dates. You could go on movie dates. You could go on lunch dates. You could go on different kind of dates. On this long distance relationship thing, you can always do it via social media. That is that easy now, right? So always keep dating, don't stop dating. So again, you also want to plan some really fantastic and interesting trip together. So not necessarily you meeting your partner at maybe where they stay, or where just it could be like a new place entirely, maybe another country, somewhere really different, and you really want to have a taste of that experience as well. Also, of course, keep exchanging texts. These things, they appear to be minute things, but they really do go a long way. For instance, it's like a culture for me in my relationship, and my husband already knows this too, like way back years. In fact, it became a culture, like unintentionally, or let me just say unknowingly, for the both of us, because it's like a conscious effort that became something we both really find interesting, to do. Like we say I love you every time. Not I love you out of okay, let me just say so she feels better. You understand? Like genuinely saying I love you. Do you understand? And of course, when there's going to be any disagreement, and I do not hear that, or he is not hearing that from me, he knows that there's the
It's
problem. You
bad.
understand? So all of this, yeah. So all of these things, they might really sound. It could be as little as exchanging gifts. So exchanging gifts might be that you probably initiated a surprise package for your spouse, maybe via the family, friends, or whatever. Of course, just practice everything that that would learn what makes this person really happy, and do them. It could be buying things for this person, maybe buying novels, it could be different things, right? It could be making, like, doing humanitarian service, not necessarily for this person, or maybe for this person's family, maybe just doing things that that this person really admires, like this person really admires and this person would like you to do. For instance, it could be, if you know that I'm really big on volunteering and everything. So, and if I see my husband do something like that, of course I really would like him to do something like that, right? So anything that that would keep your relationship really intact. And of course, do not stop evaluating your relationship. And when you have misunderstandings, when you quarrel, when you have disagreements, do not make it, like, do not create a force out of it and make something really something really, I'm like something really big, because
So every
you
fight should
want
not
to,
leading to a
yeah,
breakup. So we are going
yeah,
to end this.
yeah, exactly. You want to, you really want to resolve that, and which, like, of course you disagree to agree.
Mhm.
And I feel like even when you disagree, there's a way that it actually strengthens your relationship, right? It comes back to you, and makes you really value what this person, what you've been loving in this person, or probably it makes you see new things about this person, right? So when you disagree and you agree again, more like, is like, it should really increase the kind of bond or love that you share, right? So
Mhm.
I feel like that those are things that should be done, to help you spice up your relationship.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. All right. So we have come to the end of all my questions. Thank you so much. So a little more
My
about
pleasure.
you. What are your long-term goals? What do you want to do with your organization, or where do you see your organization going to in the future?
I actually see Nuptial Nuggets being like the Nigerian platform created by a Nigerian, of course, that would help thousands of couples in long distance relationships. I feel like it's high time we started talking about issues like this and really helping people know that yes, your long distance relationship might appear to have, to be like this now, or probably have one or two challenges, but then you can overcome that. And if it's something that you really can overcome, and that you find out that you are actually not really compatible, then you should be able to come to terms with the fact that yeah, you cannot continue to put yourself in such bondage and coaching. You cannot continue to choke yourself, or actually put yourself in that corner when you really can move on.
I agree. I agree. I agree. You do raise some good points. And when you were saying, I'm talking about the stereotypes that currently surround long distance relationships, I remember the quote that I read recently that bad marriages are like plane crashes. You hear about them, but like there are so many other planes that take off and land without any issue. But
Right,
you always hear about the
right,
plane crashes, right? And so I think it's the same thing with long distance relationships. Like there are a lot of
exactly.
long distance relationships that have survived and are thriving, or that have made it through that hurdle, but you always hear about the sad stories, the people that woke up in the morning and their boyfriend in America was marrying somebody else, so the people that woke up in the morning and something really crazy happened or got a wedding invitation or WhatsApp. Those are the ones that always make the news, because they are the crashes that are emotional and annoying and all that. So I applaud you and your work and your organization and the things that you're doing.
So very
So
much.
well done, well done, well done, well done.
All right, so I'll just say that do it without the fear. Do not be scared of whatever uncertainties that you might be, imagining in your head. You're not experiencing it yet. Just make sure that you make the most out of it, because yeah, just make sure that you're really intentional about it. It takes courage. It is really not an easy one. It can be daunting for some people, and in fact for a lot of people. But then know that there is a focus for you, and that you both are trying to reach that destination that you both must have planned about.
Thank you for spending your afternoon with us here at Uni Student World. Thank you to everyone who joined us, who contributed. We honestly, you have dropped many nuggets, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here too. It's really an amazing session. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. And to all our guests, thank you, and we'll see you
Thank you for
again.
joining.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye
Bye.
bye.
You did a great job too. Let me just say this. Like, I really, the first time I came across your page, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, because a lot of times we see different, people grapple with trying to travel out of the country because they really, not necessarily because they're really seeking greener pastures, but because they really want to study, and they want that thing to be on their CV. And then the way you just dissect everything, the way you just give out, the opportunities and the advice and everything, you're really doing an amazing work.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for creating such a
Thank
great
you.
platform.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.